Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the DAV podcast. I'm Elizabeth DePompei, and I'm excited to tell you about an upcoming project that will put a much-needed spotlight on women veterans and mental health. You might be familiar with DAV's previous special reports that detailed the unique challenges women veterans face after the military. In 2014, DAV released Women Veterans: The Long Journey Home, the first ever comprehensive report to uncover glaring gaps in healthcare, housing, employment, and community support services for women veterans, along with the failure to confront sexual assault in the military. Then in 2018, DAV released a follow-up report, Women Veterans: The Journey Ahead, which revealed that barriers persist for women seeking healthcare and other earned benefits, and found that women veterans do not receive due recognition for their service to the nation. These reports have been instrumental in educating veterans, policymakers, and congressional leaders, and have assisted in the passage of several key pieces of legislation to improve care and services for women veterans. But now, in light of the staggering increase in suicide among women veterans, we need to sharpen our focus on mental health. This February, DAV will release a third report, Women Veterans: The Journey to Mental Wellness. It is the most comprehensive assessment of the unique risk factors contributing to suicide among women veterans and how the system charged with their mental health care, the VA, can and must do better. The new report examines how things like military sexual trauma, intimate partner violence, and reproductive health challenges impact mental health and looks at gaps in care and understanding. It also identifies over 50 policy and legislative recommendations intended to spark necessary and urgent change that can save lives. Importantly, the report will also include personal stories from women veterans. They are survivors of PTSD, military sexual trauma, and intimate partner violence. Some spent years needlessly suffering, unable to access care or unaware of the services available to them. At their lowest point, some considered ending their life. Today, we're sharing the story of one of those women. Meet Ginger MacCutcheon, commander of DAV Chapter 116 in Parma, Ohio.
My name is Ginger MacCutcheon, and I'm a Women's Army Corps veteran from the U.S. Army. I served 1976 to 1978. I was a medic and a X-ray tech.
And what were the highlights of your service? What did you love about it?
I love the fact that I started out like a Private Benjamin and grew along the way. You know, I came from a very sheltered family and had no idea what was in store for me, but I learned really quick in basic training, so...
MacCutcheon was eager to start her military career, but after she experienced several violent sexual assaults, her hopes were derailed.
Basically, when I got out of AIT, I had a first sergeant and a command sergeant major that arranged these gang rapes, and they were the people that you're supposed to go to. So you really didn't have anyone to tell. And the only way that anyone realized it was my colonel that worked at the hospital in the X-ray department. He said, "I don't know what's going on with you," but he said, "Something's happening and you need to say what it is." And when I told him, he said, "We need to get you out of here before you go out of your mind," kind of thing. And he set it up so that I could get an honorable discharge. And that's why I only had 2 years of service. I separated at that time. I had gone in with the opportunity that I was going to be a lifer. You know, so every time someone says, "How long did you serve?" it's almost like a re-traumatization because I had planned to have a career in the military.
As highlighted in DAV's upcoming report, among veterans enrolled in the VA, 1 in 3 women report experiencing military sexual trauma, a known risk factor for suicide. Women are at least 16 times more likely to experience MST compared with men. Additionally, one study found veterans who identified MST as the source of their PTSD were at least 3 times as likely to have suicidal thoughts as those who said their PTSD was specifically related to combat or deployment. MacCutcheon kept what happened to herself for decades, through abusive relationships and 2 suicide attempts. She was completely unaware that she could receive mental health help or other care through the VA. Then one day during a volunteer event, something triggered a PTSD response in MacCutcheon, and a fellow veteran took notice.
I was working with a hospice, volunteering, and we were doing veterans pinnings. And we're doing the veterans pinnings and all these things. And afterwards, this guy walks up to me and he said, "Sister," he goes, "you got a problem." And I was like, who do you think you are? Telling me I got a problem. He said, I saw a gentleman drop his fork on his plate and you came off the ground that far. And he goes, are you going to the VA to get any help for that? Because he didn't know me from Adam. He didn't know what I had been through, but he just saw that I was obviously traumatized by somebody dropping a fork on a plate. And I said, I can't go to the VA. I'm not missing any body parts. Nothing happened to me, in combat or anything like that. I can't go there. And he said, oh, yes, you can. And he actually took me and signed me up for VA healthcare. And that was the first I got any help. But I think that if I had gotten treatment earlier in my life, that it wouldn't have been such a train wreck.
MacCutcheon said the VA rallied around her and got her into counseling. Then, in 2017, she stumbled upon DAV's website.
And I'm looking through and going, to finish my service, I was volunteering a lot. And I'm wait a minute, this is a way that I can complete what I feel I left undone. I'm going to sign up. So I went on the website and I filled out all the form and paid my money. And I'm okay, what do I do now?
MacCutcheon attended her first DAV chapter meeting and was quickly enlisted to serve as chaplain. She later served as treasurer for 2 terms.
And here I am, commander of my chapter. So it's kind of a really cool story that DAV has given me a purpose to try to channel what I missed in the military and my service, that I can serve others and still feel like I'm doing something, and doing something with my MST experience. Because I can truly understand if someone wants to talk about it, I get it. I totally get it. And that can give them an opportunity to speak their truth as well.
During the 2022 DAV and Auxiliary National Convention, MacCutcheon was introduced to Save a Warrior, a nonprofit organization working to end the staggering number of suicides among veterans, service members, and first responders. With a grant from the DAV Charitable Service Trust, Save a Warrior opened a National Center of Excellence for Complex Post-Traumatic Stress in Hillsboro, Ohio, in June 2022. MacCutcheon attended later that fall. At the following DAV National Convention a year later, MacCutcheon said she did something she never would have before. In a dark, crowded ballroom, she joined a friend and fellow Save a Warrior participant on the dance floor as they moved to the sounds of the Lieutenant Dan Band. Thank you for tuning in to the DAV podcast. Women Veterans: The Journey to Mental Wellness will be released in February 2024 and available on DAV's website. In the meantime, find resources and learn more about what DAV does for women veterans at dav.org/women-veterans. And make sure to subscribe to the DAV podcast.